live. Why
And here we
is that
are.
red? Right. Why is that red record button on? Are we live? We're live.
Are we live? Is this happening?
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are very excited. We've got Pamela Gagnon with us. Kind of got it right-ish.
You
Yes?
did. Yes.
There we go. Very good. So I know that you're a former gymnast, right? Division I gymnast, Rutgers, is
Yes,
that correct?
sir. Yep.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Been in the CrossFit space for a long time. Regional competitor, coach. I'm sure if anybody watching this has been on social media, they have seen your gymnastics videos and stolen your progressions and your tips and all that kind of stuff. I know I've been doing it for years. Also the co-founder of Performance Plus Programming. Tell me a little bit more about that. I know you and Zach put that thing together. Is like, what exactly is that?
Yeah, so about a decade ago when I was training for the games, I just needed somebody who was really knowledgeable about CrossFit and athletes and taking care of, aches and pains while training. And my friend referred me to Dr. Long, and Dr. Zach Long lives in North Carolina, like me. And he happened to have been treating some other CrossFit Games athletes in the area. And we just, over time started discussing like, hey, there's nothing in this space that mixes PT and gymnastics, maybe like foundational work. And he's like, would you be interested in putting something out there? If we can help 5 people a month, like we're doing our job. And I was like, yeah. So originally Performance Plus we started it maybe about 10 years ago. Originally it was kind of a focus on prehab and gymnastics conditioning, but not so skill specific. And it morphed into like, wait, we have so many people being like, I'm frustrated with toes to bar muscle up. And then we started to then go into more skill specific programs, still including a ton of the PT, because if you're not flexible, if you don't understand movement or know how to train it, along with the foundation of gymnastics, you might end up a little more injured. So we kind of want to stay ahead of those injuries. And that was kind of like our tagline, like, build the foundation and stay ahead of injuries, and morphed into helping a lot more than 5 people a month. And so we were just so over the moon that an online platform could reach people around the world, helping them with bar muscle ups and toes to bar and back, building their back so they don't have issues with it while they CrossFit as well too.
God, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to be at Affiliate Con and actually in person. So anybody that's at Affiliate Con won't have to just work with you online. They get to do it in person. What will you be doing at Affiliate Con?
Yeah, I am so excited. My energy level when I teach this is like through the roof, because I could literally talk about like handstands, bar muscle ups, hollow work forever. But I hope when I am in front of you guys, I make it fun. And I think my main message at Affiliate Con, my overall message is nobody, just because they don't have the skill or strength, don't punish the athlete, meaning everyone wants to play on the playground. And our playground, our playground in CrossFit is really the rig and all the fun like gymnastics movements. And so we need to find a way as coaches to make sure they feel like they can join in on the playground. And there's so many ways to do that by just simplifying. A lot of the gymnastic skills feel very complicated because you can't just hand a PVC pipe to an athlete and have them do the exact same thing versus a very heavy barbell, right? But really, you can easily learn to break skills into 2 sections and deload the athlete's body weight. And so I'm going to break everything down, simplify it so you can apply the same rule to almost really every skill that you see in a workout in a CrossFit gym every day.
God, that is awesome. That's something that we talk about all the time on all our different coaching calls, and people ask questions about. It's like, it's like it's easy to progress and teach people, like you said, with the PVC pipe, when we're going over the snatch or the clean, you know, you've got different weighted barbells, but how in the world does that happen in gymnastics movements? Can you give us an example? Pick one, like
Yes,
just one movement,
you got
pull
it.
up or muscle up or something like that.
Yes, I have so many movements I could give examples. All right, we'll do the handstand. We'll do a handstand push-up because the thing that drives me the most crazy as a gymnastics coach and a CrossFit coach and really an athlete in the space is it's nobody would accept like a crappy squat. They would to ask the like back squat. They would ask that athlete like, "Hey, dude, too heavy. Take off, 30 pounds on that barbell and hit below parallel. We want to get full depth." But when it comes to handstand push-ups, we see like everybody stack like 3 ab mats, and the
Yeah.
coach is like, "I don't know what to do." Like, okay, so
Like,
yeah, and so here's the thing. They are playing on the playground, right? But it's my job as a coach to not only have them play, but also see improvement over time. Because you know what? If they're stuck on 3 ab mats for 6 years, you're not doing your job. You're not building their strength, their confidence level. They're just there stuck at the same spot. And when they don't see progress, they might not come back, or they might go find another coach that can help them advance in a more confident way. So, the handstand push-up is created with 2 skills, the handstand and the push-up. The handstand is really the most fun part. That's why we see a lot of the athletes stack the 3 ab mats, because heck, who doesn't want to go upside down as an adult and play, handstands? So let's have them in a handstand. Handstands inversion. It can be at any level. You could do inversion at a, box pike handstand. We can do it kick up to the wall. We can do it wall walk facing. Get them inverted. Then break up this. That's, more the stability portion. Then break it up the strength portion, which is the push up. So maybe they're working regular tricep push-ups because you need really good tricep strength. Maybe they're working a handstand hold. So if it's 15, let's say it's 15 handstand push-ups for 3 rounds.
Yep.
They're done. They're going to break it apart. 10-second handstand hold, and then 5 strict box handstand push-ups, or 5 strict push-ups. Really legit, push-ups. Most athletes who stack the 3 ab mats, they cannot do a legit push-up.
Yep.
So if I then, will put their hands on a box, elevate them like this, so we deload the body and they're
Yep.
able to move hips and shoulders up and down at the same rate, just like we would see or want them to do in a deadlift, right? Good form.
Yep.
So they're not snaking it. They're not just like a deadlift. If they did butt first, right? Stripper deadlift. We're like, nope, let's fix that, So learning how to deload that athlete. That was a very long-winded way to explain, but
I like it.
no,
I'm
it's great
trying-
though. This is
Yeah,
the
and-
audience for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
to go into detail, to really dive into it is great.
And here's the thing, if everybody is having fun but them, they're going to leave that gym as well too. So you have to, as a coach, really evaluate what is fun about this. Well, really, it's the handstand part. It's not really the push-up part. That's the hard work part. So have them do the really fun part, build their confidence. Holding a handstand in that static position is building isometric, strength is huge in body
Yep.
weight, sports. So they're gaining a lot from that isometric hold and having fun. Now we're going to also get them strong. So remember, when we are working on breaking up the skill into 2 parts, remember the other athletes might be doing kipping because they already have the strength for it. So also take down the reps. They can't do 15 regular push-ups every round. You have to, break that up as well too. So I usually go about 30% is my rule of where I start. So if like it's a kipping movement, I tend to do about 30% strict of that deloaded skill that they're working on.
So that's awesome. And I think a lot of us on here, believe the same thing. It's like you're not getting much out of 3 stacked ab mats, and let's figure out how to teach the mechanics and get them consistent, have them having fun. I'm curious to know, so oftentimes our classes are big, right? 12, 15, sometimes even 20 or more people. And with the intention and the scaling process for handstand push-ups of doing like box pikes, trying to get against the wall, obviously you're going to have some people, not obviously, but sometimes you're going to have some people that can't even kick up into a handstand yet or don't feel comfortable kicking up into a handstand.
Yep.
How do you recommend, or what's your process with that to
Yep.
help make sure that everybody gets a chance to do this thing and somebody's not left behind or doing something completely different? Do you have any guidance there?
Yes. So as a coach, when we have a big class, we want to give minimal options, but enough
Yep.
options that we reach, the all ranges of athletes, right? The very
Right.
beginner to the elite in the class. So when I'm demoing for the workout, I say, all right, if you do not have a strict handstand push-up, here are your 2 options,
Yep.
or maybe I give 3. So the option is you wall walk up for the invert. So let's stick with the handstand push-ups.
Yeah.
So for the scale version, you're going to wall walk up to your comfort level. You are going to either wall walk or kick up to your comfort level, hold for 10 seconds. For those who do not feel comfortable, you're going to put your feet on an elevated box and you're going to walk your hands close to the box, send your hips up to your comfort level. So they're kind of in an inverted position, a pike box.
Right.
And almost anybody I've met can at least get into the inverted kind of hollow plank,
Right.
even if they don't feel like they can walk their hands
Yeah.
towards that box. So that's 3 options for the handstand hold.
Yep.
Wall walk up, back, kick up with your back to the wall, or you're using a
The
box with
box.
your feet on the box.
It-
And so that's the hold portion. And then I'll say, all right. And then if you're using the box, you're going to turn around. You're going to do 5 push-ups, hands on the box. That way we're elevating the athlete, deloading their body weight. Or you're going to do box handstand push-ups.
Love it. Yeah. The way that I always think about it and try to communicate it too is like, my goal is to know my athletes in class. And if I know that there's somebody in here that doesn't feel comfortable or doesn't yet have the ability to kick up against the wall with their back to the wall, it's like I always call it like I want to build my progression to the lowest common denominator. So if somebody can't kick up, then I'm going to have everybody start with that wall walk version, like a partial wall walk. So everybody is on the same page to begin with. And then we can have some people progress. And then those people that have to stay with the wall walk, hopefully don't feel like they're left behind, and to your point, not playing, which is great.
That's
I think
hold on, when
yeah,
I love that. And also it's really wise to do these as a warm up, in like, so taking the most scaled version or
yeah,
the first progression, right? So then
yep.
the athlete's like, oh, I already did this in warm up, I'm going to do that in my workout. So I love that.
Yeah, and we sometimes will call it like the bus stop method with our progression, where you're warming them up, you're teaching them a progression, but along the way there's steps where they can't really progress past, and that's what you're going to do in your workout, and that kind of helps scale along with the teaching process and all of that. The
At
other question I
affiliate
have,
con, yeah, wait,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry. At
I love
affiliate
it.
con, I'm gonna, one of the lectures I'm doing are how to make warm-ups fun and effective. So we're gonna talk a lot about that, how to incorporate the skill in the warm-up, getting on the bus, and then people start getting off. And we called it, when I worked at CrossFit Gymnastics, we called it the struggle bus. We're like, nobody wants to stay on the struggle bus, everyone wants to get off, so here's your
Yeah.
stop.
So I think one of the biggest challenges a lot of coaches have when we're talking about this concept of the bus stops and the struggle bus is when you have athletes that have to get off on, let's say, the first stop, then what we're doing with them as we have 4 more stops to go with the rest of the group. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so meaning like, if we're warming up like stop 1, 2, and 3, like level 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, and they just, we know they're at level 1. That's where they're going to
Yep.
stay.
Yep.
Do you recommend they just keep doing level 1? Do we take them
Is it-
along the ride a little bit more? Like, how do you handle that?
in like a
Um,
specific warm up, I think.
Yeah,
is
and
what
like a
you're referring
specific,
to.
like still
Yep.
going, we'll still go with like handstand
Yeah.
push-ups.
Yeah. So, all right. So if level one is plank position and we're going to be doing plank holds and then a push up to the floor, well, that's probably pretty aggressive. But if we're just working on plank holds and then going to the box, and then I'm like, all right, the next cycle we're going to wall walk, right? And that athlete isn't comfortable with wall walking. Let's always compare it to the barbell. I always compare gymnastics to the barbell, and you're going to find your own answer if you just think about it with the barbell. Let's say we're working on the snatch, and it's a brand new athlete. And they have the PVC pipe. We've done position 1, 2, and 3, and now I say round 2. We're going to all grab a barbell. Put your PVCs away. That beginner athlete, are they grabbing the barbell or are they going to stay at the PVC pipe because their form just still pretty not there and their mobility is not there? So they're going to probably, not feel like they can turn the bar over, even that training bar. So they stay at the PVC. And it's okay because you know why? They're still engaged, they're still getting repetition, and they're building confidence. So instead of looking at as like, oh, we're just keeping them on, the first bus stop of the gymnastics skill. Well, no, they're getting repetition. If you walk into a gymnastics club and you look at the elite gymnasts who are in high school trying to get those college scholarships and the 6-year-olds who are just starting, they are doing the exact same warm up for a half hour on repetition, consistency, mechanics, right? So you can do it with your eyes closed. So instead of looking at it as like, oh, this athlete's going to be so bored, you go over them and you say, hey, this round you did this better. Next round, I want you to focus on this. So as a
Yes, I love that.
coach, you have to give them something, even though they're at the same level or bus stop, you're giving them one more thing to work on that bus stop. Like Jason Ackerman always says, like, you can never, like when I used to work with him, he's like, we can always improve our air squat. Even the most elite athletes, there's one thing we could continue to focus on or be better at. And so as a coach, it's my, it's, it's, it's my opportunity to help an athlete even if they're at the same progression, to look at it as if they are improving. And I'm not gonna, blow smoke up their butt. Like, I want them to actually, hey, this was good. Now let's focus on this. Always give something they're good at, something to work on. And that's it. No more information, overwhelming. They're already nervous.
Keep it simple. Yeah, just to highlight one of the things that you said so it doesn't get lost, because I believe this is one of the missing pieces for coaches, is giving them a new focus point every time, right? Like, hey, here's what you did really well last time. Now I want you to focus on this. And so we're still engaging them, we're still coaching them. And it's not like, oh, you just keep working on that while I go and continue on the bus with the rest of the class. They're still engaged, they're still getting a focus point every single time, just like everybody else. Yeah, I love that.
Yes, that's great. And yesterday when I was coaching, it was a really, really big class at noon. And I saw like 2 people do something. It was a barbell lift, but I saw 2 people do something. And so instead of just like, I didn't really have time to just specifically go over to those 2 people because it was a huge class. So I stopped the whole class and I was like, hey, next rep, I want you guys to focus on, not rocking the feet, pressing them flat through the ground in that first pull. And that way, the people who were doing it are probably like, ooh, I think I did that. And the other people are like, oh, let me make sure I'm doing that. And so even if you have one athlete doing something that, you want to correct, the whole class hearing it is still learning. So oftentimes I'm not just going to that individual athlete. I'm pausing and saying, oh, let's all focus on this.
It's amazing. I'm sure you've experienced this as well. As like when I say one person's name and give a direct cue, if it's like, Kristen, keep your heels down, everybody in the gym, like 95% of people keep their heel down. If I just generally say, hey guys, remember to put your heels down. Like everybody's like, clearly that's not me, and nobody does it. It's like I say one person's name, everybody does it. I say everybody, nobody does it. So yeah, to your point, keeping those cues loud to where everybody can learn from that opportunity and what you're given there.
I'm
The other thing,
smiling because I taught fourth grade. And so my like most favorite way to compile the class together again was like, I just really love the way Susie's listening right now. And the whole class was like, wait, I want to be praised too.
yes,
And
There's so many similarities with coaching as
and
there is
for
with
and teaching fourth graders or
elementary
third
school.
graders. Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I miss teaching so much, but I get it in such a different way. And really, adults, we're the same as kids, to be quite honest. We're just a
Or
little bit
worse.
right. We're probably at worse.
But everyone
So
still wants to be on the playground, right?
Yeah.
exactly right. And so I always go back to my teaching days of fourth and sixth grade, and like, what motivates the kids will motivate the adults, and and just observing on the playground, and all these things have really helped me become a better coach too, just having a master's in education, to be quite honest. So
That's awesome. Another thing I want to call out that you said to reinforce is like that you mentioned top level gymnasts that are preparing for college still show up and do the basics and the foundations and the fundamental movements, and they do them every single day as a warm up. And so anytime there's an athlete that's like, I don't need to go through this clean progression, I already know how to clean, or pull up progression or whatever it is, or any coach that thinks that, hey, I've got athletes that have been with me for 5 years, they're all quote unquote experienced in this class, we can just jump into the pull-ups without doing any sort of like progression work or skill work beforehand, you're missing the boat. There is no high level athlete that just like goes to the top level of competition with zero warm up and zero refinement. So I think calling that out and making it where it's like there is so much value in practicing the basics, not only to get better at the movement, but just to warm up and get ready and get primed and get ready to rock and roll. So I love that you called that out. And I just think that's something that we can't do enough of as athletes, and also reinforce as coaches as well.
agree.
Yeah. One of the, let's see, Kristen, you want to throw up any of these questions we've got here?
Yeah, we've got a couple questions here. Let's see. There's a lot. Well, just shouting out lots of excitement here for you, Pamela. Building lots to fly helped me so much.
Oh,
Mert
thanks.
that was from Jess. Mert says, saw one of your videos with the PVC overhead and learning to create that hollow body and arch, and instantly saw better kip swings on the rig by my athletes yesterday.
Awesome.
Really
Thank you,
cool.
Justin. Yeah, and that is that drill, I know exactly what he's talking about. You're standing and you have a band through the rig and then a PVC through the band, and you're allowing the PVC to kind of pull you into the arch, and then you have to pull that rib down into the hollow. And it is, what I like about it is it deloads you completely, takes gravity kind of away, and forces the athlete to focus on what muscles are having to fire up. And when the other athlete just said building lats to fly, that's one of our Performance Plus programs. So a lot of coaches are like, oh, more lats. Athletes don't know what that means
Right.
because
Right.
they've never felt how to fire up their lats. So a ton of my warm-ups, which are super effective in the kip swing and bar muscle up, it's really like having that athlete deload the body and focus on just the actual thing that is the main mover. And I do a lot of training where I have my athletes close their eyes during a drill like that. And when you take away all of your surroundings, the only thing to focus on is really what your body is doing through space. So I teach double unders with their eyes closed because we just listen to the rhythm of the rope.
Yeah.
Yep.
Listen to the
And
rhythm of the rope.
Yep. And it's a cadence. So the athlete can focus just on the sound of the speed of the rope. And it is just a game changer for every single athlete I've ever worked with, because double unders, everybody tenses up and they go really, really fast in the
Right.
beginning.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. That doesn't
Yeah.
ever happen to me.
I have a heck of a time learning double unders. And when I realized, oh, it's just a rhythmic movement, you know. But anyway, so yeah, all those drills, it's just like, once again, simplifying
Yeah.
Yep.
simplifying it.
You know, we talk about, the value of the PVC so often to gain more kinesthetic awareness and to really think about the positioning and not rely on the barbell. And a lot of coaches forget the fact that we can also deload the gymnastics movements to do essentially the same thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So we've got a question here. How do you explain to people the importance of practicing handstands as a functional movement? And the follow-up here is,
Sorry. Yep.
yeah, versus just pressing or holding weight overhead.
Yeah. All right. So two things. I work with some 65 plus athletes, and just we do a lot of inversion. So they might not be going up into the full handstand, but like we were talking before, they're doing some sort of box handstand scale version of that. And we talk about car accidents. We talk about falling. We talk about rolling around with your grandchild in the ground. So all of those things are really important to understand. If your car flips over and you have to get out of that car, I'm going to have an easier time understanding where I am through space if I have a really good proprioception of being upside down and inverted. But honestly, the real like functional answer for sure is one, it's fun as heck. Two, I've never met a gymnast who isn't a great weightlifter. Meaning, if you want to get better at the barbell and you think clean and jerks are fun, snatches are fun, even if you're not doing a squat snatch or a split jerk and you're just going overhead with that barbell, if you want to see gains in that, go do handstands. I work with in the past I've worked with a Chinese weightlifting team online, and we connected through Instagram, and they asked me to write a handstand program for their Olympic weightlifting team
That's awesome.
in China, because that's
So
how
cool.
important the handstand stability and muscles are for weightlifting.
I
That's so
threw
cool.
this up, I think, a couple minutes ago, but it's relevant now. I just wanted to do this next shout out. Jess says, got 3 of my masters, 59, 60, and 62 inverted
Heck yeah,
yesterday for handstand walks. That's super cool, Jess.
that's awesome.
And to add on to that question about the functional piece of that, I just look at it as like money in the bank. It's like, hey, we know that pressing and holding weight overhead is going to be something we need to do as we continue to age. If I can get upside down, then I'm not going to be concerned with my ability to press weight overhead as I continue to age. It's the same thing. It's like, well, what's the functionality of an overhead squat? I'm probably not going to do that in the real world. But if I do know that if you can overhead squat, I'm not going to be concerned about your air squat. Your air squat's fine if you can overhead squat any sort of load at all. So I don't know that it's functional as far as like what you do in life, but to your point, there's so much additional value to it that you don't want to skip over it.
And here's one other thing about just functional in general. So a lot of athletes who have gone to really a high level have um, confidence, right? They carry themselves with confidence. And so we want our athletes walking in to leave with more confidence than they came.
Yep.
And if they're looking at a skill like, oh, there's no point in me doing handstands, I can't do it anyway. It like if we found a way for them to get inverted, they're going to walk away realizing I just did something, one, I wasn't really sure I even needed to do, but two, had fun doing it, hopefully, and built their confidence because they did something they didn't think they would or should do. And we're doing it in a very safe way. We're building, the skill from the foundation up, but it's ultimately going to help them in their real life. Now they're going to, try that, new method at work because they're like, hey, I never know. Maybe it would work out, better. Maybe I'll learn something new that I wasn't sure I could.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Completely agree. What else? We got another one here. I've got an athlete working towards her bar muscle up. She can get over the bar if she does a glide kip, but I can't get her toes to stay below the bar. What
All
do we
right.
got?
So most likely she is doing more of a glide kippy than like a hybrid bar muscle up. But so the athletes that their feet are going above the bar usually don't have their eyesight on their body in space. And what I mean by that is their timing is off because they don't know where they are or when they are pulling or pressing around the bar. So the first cue is I always tell my athletes, I want you, before you jump up on the bar, to tell me a spot on the horizon you're going to find after you jump on the bar. And then you're going to stare at that spot. Maybe it's the exit sign, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if her athlete is going to look at that exit sign, she will then have a very clear view on the horizon. And when her toes come over that horizon, she's going to realize her timing is off. So first, it's making your athlete realize where they are in space. That's the very, very first thing. After they understand that, then we can work on some tactile cues. So I might put my hand there or a PVC pipe right where I want her to transition, around. So the feet stop coming up. And the problem is she is using the swing more than the press.
Mm-hmm.
So as the feet are coming up, she's not coming out of that deep pike in kind of the swing position. So we're going to cue our athlete when her feet hit my hand to squeeze her glutes. So once you squeeze your
Hips again.
butt, it gets you into that hollow position. So if I'm here and I squeeze my butt, my
Yep.
hips are going to be rising with the swing. It's not like a hip thrust, which most people miscue that. You're just going from a pike into a hollow. So it's my job then as the coach to tactile cue her and also just have her to think about one thing, basically.
Love it. That takes me down this thought process just in general of muscle ups. And I see a lot of people, even if they don't necessarily do a glide kip or get
Yeah.
their feet above the bar, above their hands, like both on rings and bar, but if we use our legs to generate the kip and we kick our feet above our body, and now if this is my upper body and my feet
Yep.
are above my upper body, I'm trying to get this in screen,
Mm-hmm.
to transition, I've got so much farther to go. Whereas if we use our feet to, like, I think of, especially when I'm on the rings, of kicking my feet forward and raising my whole body up and still keeping like my feet and legs below my shoulders. So by the time I get to the rings or to the bar, I can transition over. Is that like, am I on the right track? And is that how you would teach that, right? We don't just want the legs to get the hips up at all costs, right?
Yep. So it is a strength derived skill. And the swing is there to assist, not do it. And so again, it comes back to the foundation. Does she have strict chest to bars?
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
And that's
Probably
what I
not.
wanted. That's
Probably not.
perfect transition. I want to talk to next is strict versus kipping. I know that you're an advocate for strict of everything. Is that correct? Before we do kipping, and explain your thought process a little bit more on that.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to convince athletes, especially in that kipping pull up, but it's really for longevity in fitness, keeping the shoulders really healthy. The kip is adding 3 to 5 times your body weight that you're generating that power that you don't have the strength to control on the way down. And you can tell athletes that are not doing it safely, they have that little jarring in the shoulder every time they drop.
Mm-hmm.
So again, how do we build that? For the kipping pull up, they want to play on the playground, right? They want to say, hey, I'm I don't want to stick to ring rows. Ring rows really haven't got me anywhere, which I love ring rows, but they really aren't progressing you pretty much towards that strict pull up and kipping pull up. So the kipping pull up, it's a kip and it's a pull up. So we deload the body weight for the pull up. using a toe assist on the box, and then we have them practice the kip swing. So they're playing on the playground, they're learning the kip swing, but they're not going to injure themselves. So yeah, it's really important. It's like you wouldn't have an athlete, snatch more than they can overhead squat. The bar's going to collapse on them and they'll get hurt. So we have to apply the same um, standards to body weight movements. And I always tell athletes, those who look like it's easy are making it look easy. It's because they have the strict strength behind it. And don't
Mhm.
you want to be so impressive and have people walk in here and be like, I want to do that? That kip swing is beautiful. Make that kip swing so impressive that anybody can walk in a gym and think like, I can do that. Well, it's a complicated thing, People think it's, we're derived from the hip, and it's not, and they don't understand the arch and hollow, and they don't have the lat, understanding. So yeah, it definitely definitely will pay off, and you
Yeah, and
won't be stuck at the harder skills.
I love the focus on it's not about the fact that you did the one kipping pull up. It's more about what it looks like, right? Like how easy they make it look or how beautiful it looks. And that's really the technique, and how well people doing things sound like that's the thing you're really focusing on and celebrating more than
Mhm.
just someone using their entire body to do some sort of like finagled thing where they get their chin above the bar. And it's like, we did it. It's like, if it
Yeah.
doesn't look the way it's supposed to look, that's not really what we want to be going towards.
And I think this goes back to what you were talking about with your fourth graders, where people are going to chase incentives. And so if we as coaches or gym owners, if the incentive and the things that we celebrate is the score on the board, then people are going to do whatever they can at all costs to try to get that incentive. Whereas to your point, if what you recognize and what you praise is the quality of movement, which you've covered it a number of times already, talking about the handstand or even the kip swing and things like that. It's like that's what people are going to be after in your affiliate or in your class, because people chase after the incentives that they get, the things that are recognized and praised. And so I think if we as coaches can really go back to focusing on the quality of movement, coaching people to move well, and then praising them for moving well, you'll be surprised at what that does to the culture in your gym and how people start gravitating to try to move well, to get those little gold stars, praises from the coach, as opposed to just thinking that, however I get my chin over the bar, doing it RX is the only thing that matters. It should be the quality of movement, the skill acquisition, and the long-term stability of what they're actually doing, to your point of trying to keep them safe and strong throughout.
Yeah, I think we're missing a little bit of a piece of that in as coaches, because sometimes we're just in a rush to like turn over to the next class. But like after, when the class is over, like give 3 praises. Hey, everybody give a high five to, Angela. She freaking crushed the depth on those wall balls. I
Yeah.
would love to make sure I hit that standard every time too. I mean, everyone's gonna walk out of there and be like, "Oh, I want to be chosen." We're still,
Yes.
we're still the
Yes.
kids at heart.
I know. And I
We
couldn't
still,
love
Yes.
that more. I love that
we
so
still
much.
Yeah.
love the praise.
Yeah.
Like pick 2 athletes that did something super cool, or hey, I love how Joe was super patient, and today during the workout chose to work on the kip swing and the strict pull up strength. That is going to pay off, Joe. You did an awesome job. See you tomorrow.
Yep.
And let the
Yeah.
whole class hear it. you know it's
And
like
it
the
takes
very little
30
things.
seconds to add that
Mhm.
into the end of class, right? But if we're not thinking about doing it, we're probably not going to do it. So just having that top of mind when the class ends, making it a part of your end of class routine, it
Yep.
it the payoff is far greater than the time it takes to do it.
Yeah.
I do have a follow-up question for the strict versus kipping. Talk to me about the ring muscle up, because that's certainly one of those things that many people are pretty proficient at kipping muscle ups. And then we ask them to do a strict one and they cannot do it. So is your thought process strict muscle up before kipping, or is it more like strict pull up, strict ring dip before kipping? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Nope. Even though it's a hard, even because it's a hard skill and there's a way around it, we aren't cheating it. So I always say it's like this. All right, we're in Calc 1 and I'm cheating off of my off of my friend next to me to pass the test because I
Uh-huh.
got to get to Calc 2, right? I'm a
Yeah.
math major. But then I get to Calc 2 and my friend's not in that class. And I'm like, shit, now I can't pass Calc 2. I'm stuck, right? So now I got to go back to Calc 1 and spend extra time. So it's like, if I'm cheating the system to get ahead, eventually it's going to catch up to me. And here is how I relate it to the ring muscle up. All right, yeah, I can kip the ring muscle up, but I can't do strict. Damn, coach, I'm so frustrated. I can only do 2 ring muscle ups. I've never been able to do 2 more. Well, guess what? It's because you skipped the foundation.
Hmm.
You get 1 more strict, you'll be able to do 3, 4, 5. So the
Right.
more strict strength you have behind a kipping movement, the more you are going to progress in your journey of strength of that movement and endurance. So like in my ring muscle up endurance and bar muscle up endurance programs at Performance Plus, I mix a lot of strict into the kip. So for the ring muscle up endurance, I have the athletes go 1 strict into 2 kip, or 2 kip into 1 strict, and we
Ooh.
vary it, or 1 kip, 1 strict, one, and that now they're learning, 1, how to control the rings. So they're swinging, then we have to stabilize them. Then they're swinging,
Hmm.
we have to stabilize them. And 2, they're seeing progress a lot faster because they're adding the strict strength into it. It's just like, why would we do strict press, 1 strict press, 2 push press, 2, 3 push jerk, right? We do that complex a lot. Well, because we're getting stronger with the strict the strict pressing.
Right.
Um, and honestly, the rings are really terrifying and very dangerous. And so it's really important to learn to stabilize the rings. We don't do enough like warm ups and learning how to just control the rings, you know? So, yeah,
No, yeah,
that's
that was great. You heard it here, folks.
it's not it's not great, you know, it's if you deliver the message in a really positive way, the athlete doesn't see it as a punishment.
Right.
Um, right? So if I'm like, "Oh my gosh, let's go do some low ring box ring muscle ups." If they do 5 low ring box ring muscle ups every round, they are going to be so burnt out because they're
Right.
now
Yeah.
doing it strict but deloaded. And they're like, wow, that was a lot harder than doing 1 kipping every round. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm here to build your strength, you know? So,
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think,
people underestimate how challenging some of those scales are, like the low ring
what,
transitions and
and
mhm.
I think a lot of the reason for that is us as coaches, because you guys, you just said it, and we all know it, that like the kneeling up muscle up transitions that we teach at the level 1 for the progression we use for the muscle ups, or the box muscle up on the low rings that you're talking about. They're really hard if you do them right, but people can do them wrong, right? They can go
Mhm.
from under the rings, just lean back, and then jump to the top of the rings, and they're like, "Oh, I did 5 of those. That was stupid.
Mhm.
It wasn't very hard. I don't feel like I got a workout today." And it's like, yeah, because you didn't do anything but kind of swing around on the rings. We as coaches need to be able to look and know what we're looking for. Hey, are they maintaining the false grip? Did they actually pull to the sternum? Did they transition to the bottom of the dip? Were they pressing out of that, whether it's leg assisted or not? And so it's like, if your coaches or if your athletes are saying that they're not getting something out of that version of the scaled version of the movement, it's probably because they're not doing it right. And they're probably not doing it right because either we're not coaching it correctly or we're not seeing correcting correctly. So just wanted to reinforce that. Like those skills are so challenging. A lot of times I think doing the scaled version of this stuff is harder than doing the like actual version of it.
I
Um,
agree.
yeah. What did you put here, Kristen? What do we got?
We've got a question from Jay about well, I'll just read it. What would be the long-term or short-term fix for athletes that lack mobility for the arch position for the kip? They seemingly lose all power as soon as they pull through.
Okay, so working on mobility is so hard to do within that like 1 hour, but it can be done. So again, we're going to go back to that warm up phase, and we're going to learn some different ways to teach the kip again at the Philly Con. I'm going to show you guys all of this. I'm really excited for that one where I'm going to talk about warm-ups, because I don't think warm-ups are utilized in the best way possible that we can. So we're going to work on, just some banded standing arch hollows. It's going to help just open up the thoracic for that athlete. But here's the thing. Less is more in the kip. You don't need this gigantically huge
Yes.
arch and hollow. You need the athlete to create tension. Athletes don't understand what that means. Tension is muscle doing work. That's it. So if they have not a lot of mobility, but they know how to fire up their muscles in the most efficient way, then they will have success with that kip swing. Also, if not everybody needs to do kipping pull-ups. I have some athletes who are like, I never want to compete. I just want to do strict pull-ups. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
We can get intensity in a different way in the workout.
Mm-hmm.
So again, maybe they're working on in the workout the strict strength, and they're actually doing that warm-up drill in the workout. So it's helping them with that mobility. And so short-term fixes will help over long-term gains.
One other thing to consider there, Jay, is take a look at your athlete's grip. A lot of times I'll see an athlete that like holds the pull-up bar with their hands right above their shoulders or too narrow, and that's going to limit the space in the shoulders for the range of motion. Because Pamela, to your point, it's like there's not many people, even people that are tight in their shoulders and back. I've not seen many people that don't have the ability to get that position. And so widen the hands just a little bit. And then to your point, it doesn't have to be super far through. I think you can still get people to do this thing correctly. So
grip
just
is a huge. Yeah, sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No, you're right on. I'm smiling because Kristen and I just hammer stance and grip. If you can do that and like set up positions, you've done 90% of your work. Like as far as coaching is concerned, and your athletes are going to be 90% there. So tell me more about grip.
I talk about grip just like I relate it again, everything to weightlifting. How do we? What are your coach's cues when you approach the barbell? Knuckles down. You want like hook grip, obviously, for the barbell, but gymnastics, it's that over grip, that flexion. You want to see this wrist in that kind of bent position. And yes, thumbs around is definitely a much safer position.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's like try to swing the kettlebell with your thumbs like in suicide grip. The kettlebell will just slip out.
Not stay in your hands.
And you, guess what? You are the kettlebell swinging through the space.
You are the
air.
kettlebell.
Yeah.
That's great.
So so it is just a very much safer just in general. But yes, grip is huge. So if you're gripping like kind of on that fingertip grip of the rig, you have this now joint that is just disconnected from your whole body. You don't have any strength. But if we can go into this flexion and lock this joint in, now our bigger forearm and lat muscles are more engaged. So yeah, building a better grip is so important.
And what's interesting about that is, it goes back to the strict we were just talking about, specifically with the muscle up. And a lot of people can't do the strict muscle up because they're like, oh, the false grip, it hurts. I can't hold it. It's too hard. Well, if they're holding the pull-up bar, which we do, multiple times a week, more than likely, in the grip that you just described, they're going to be training and strengthening that position. And it's going to be a much easier transition to be able to maintain a false grip on the rings. And now all of a sudden, like you'll be closer to getting that strict muscle up. So it's funny that we know that there's universal motor recruitment patterns and there's carryover from all the positions and all the things that we do pretty much inside the walls of the CrossFit gym with the movements that we do. But a lot of times people can't connect the dots on why I do this, right? Oh, I don't want to change my grip on the pull-up bar. It's going to make me go slower for today's workout. So I'm just going to keep doing it crappy, even though we know that if they work on doing it right, it'll take 2 workouts until it feels better. And then all of a sudden everything else gets better. So anyways, love what you're sharing here. And I just continue to want to reinforce all of that stuff.
Love it.
Well, it's fun because we talk about a bunch of stuff pretty consistently, just with general coaching the general public in a CrossFit class as a whole. And it's just cool to hear all of these concepts just reiterated and everybody's just be on the same page with, mastering the basics, paying attention to grip, strict before kipping. It's great. I do have a follow-up just to kind of go back to what you were saying at the very beginning of our talk. If we're talking about, our athletes that they don't really want to do kipping pull-ups anymore. They just want to focus on the strict. Cool. That's great. They're going to go through the warm-up and then the workout, they're going to do the strict pull-ups. You had mentioned that 30% numbers that where as coaches, we can be like, all right, cool. There's, X amount of pull-ups each round in the workout. And then we pick a number around 30%. And then that's the number we give them for their strict.
Yeah, I think like for just more of the everyday athlete, that 35% is where I would choose for each round. Maybe for the athletes that are a little more elite that want to, that can handle a little bit more, little higher volume of strict, might go to that 40%
Okay.
of the kipping. But I do find like, the stimulus, if we're getting that number too high in the strict, the stimulus is not going to be created that we're trying to create that the other athletes are doing. Yeah.
Slow down, right? Yep.
Yeah. It's like strict Fran versus, if I were to do a full strict Fran versus if I were to do a half strict Fran, right? You're getting back to that barbell quick and you're doing quick sets of strict versus, jumping on and off and getting down to singles if you're in the 15s of the strict pull-ups.
Love it. One of the other things that I was curious about, I think like we talk about trying to provide variety in the scaling options, and like watching your videos, I've seen so much variety in different ability or different options as far as scaling is concerned. Now, some of the drills look awesome, and like I've done them on one-on-one or small basis, but it looks like because of additional equipment or space, they're a little bit more challenging with bigger groups.
Yeah.
And when it comes to like pull-ups, I think a lot of us have different options in our head. We can do banded pull-ups, we can do ring rows, we can do jumping pull-ups, we can do negatives, we can do toe assists, and I think people do a good job with that. Some of the other gymnastics movements become more challenging to know what additional or varied scaling options look like. Like I go back to the handstand push-up you were talking about at the beginning. I think I know my go-to is like the pike on a box, either from your knees or from your toes, potentially some kick-ups to the wall and negatives. What else do you provide to give that more exposure and to provide different scaling options just to keep variety in what you're providing for your athletes?
So it's a fine line of giving too many options. Repetition is key in progression of your strength. So, if there are, if I have 4 options in my toolbox, I'm going to offer probably 2 for that day and then try and write down and vary it. And just, again, I know repetition can get boring, but repetition is also key. So we do the Bergner strength warm up probably every single time we pick up that barbell, and nobody complains about it. It's for some reason they get like bored with the gymnastics stuff because like, oh, I don't have a PVC pipe in my hand, like, so it just is more, changing how you do it repetitively. So maybe you're doing every 30 seconds, maybe you're doing 10 reps of it, changing the stimulus of it. Maybe you're doing it with a 3-second count on the negative. Maybe you're doing a hold, maybe, so varying the way you do that progression is really important, but you don't need, if you're doing effective progressions, you don't need to continually just like pull tricks out of the hat.
I love it. I love it. And that point of varying how you do it and like tempo and reps and that kind of stuff is huge. It's like we think about that, especially on like heavy days, you'll have discussions, and it's pretty obvious to people that if it's somebody's first day in class and you're doing a 1 rep back squat, you're probably not going to have that brand new athlete do 7 sets of 1 and truly work up towards the 1 rep max, because they're brand new to it. And so it's like, all right, we're going to probably do a couple more reps, and we're going to do some tempos and probably some pauses. So they'll gain strength, they'll learn the positions, and it's exactly like it correlates perfectly with what you just described. So I love hearing that, and gives me some different ideas of what I can do on some of those more challenging gymnastics days to provide some variety, but stick to the basics and the things that we know are going to work best and get our people where we want to, which is to eventually developing the skill, which is huge. All right, what do we got? Do we have anything else question wise?
No, not too many questions, but several cool comments just on some of the things we talked about. Just Mertz doing nasty girls in his garage gym with ring transitions with his legs forward, and it's like it felt harder than doing them kipping. Heart rate wasn't as high, but muscular worn out.
Yes, I love that. And just like in the CrossFit methodology, it's like the variety of muscular versus endurance versus, monostructural. So yeah, that's awesome that came to fruition there.
This is interesting from Jess. I wonder if you just have any extra comments or insight on this, that she can do strict ring muscle ups, but can't kip them I cannot kip them to save my life, she says.
Yeah. So on my YouTube channel, which is Pamela Gagnon, I have if you search hybrid ring muscle up, Pamela Gagnon, it probably will pop up, and I kind of teach it in a hybrid way. So we're in a false grip, but we're just doing this like little mini kickback of the arch, and it kind of teaches you really a hybrid way until you get really comfortable with understanding that. Again, less is more. You don't need a wild kip. Most people who have strict, they can't transition because they're overthinking that I need this huge kip, but you don't. You just need a little pop, art from the arch to hollow, and that's where the magic weightlessness happens.
Super cool.
Yeah, it's so disappointing when somebody they've got their strict, they're going to do their kip, they get on the rings, they're holding their false grip, and then they start swinging, and they feel like they need 4 swings before they even attempt. And I'm like, each swing, you see the hands and the grip change, and then they're hanging on by their fingertips, and it's like, you got no shot. Just grab it, throw your hips forward, and get on top of the rings. Like, that's it.
Exactly. That's right.
Yeah.
So how many activations or clinics are you running at Affiliate Con? You're doing a couple, right?
Yes, I am doing 2. Basically, one is I'm doing one about the integrating effective and fun warm-ups, and then one is, I think, how to incorporate higher level skills with all the athletes at the in your class. And then the other one, I'm teaming up with CrossFit Mayhem, because I write Mayhem Gymnastics with them, so I'm really excited to do that. We have a lot of fun working together, so that'll be a really, really fun one too.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm
love it.
hoping to be able to get in there and get some tips for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. If you guys have not signed up yet for Affiliate Con, I cannot believe we're like 3 weeks away from this thing going down. So make sure you guys get signed up. We got links in the chat. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time. People that want to learn more other than Affiliate Con, where else can they find you, so they can learn more?
YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram is all Pamela Gagnon. So Pamela Gnon. And then my link to Performance Plus Programming is there. And I can't wait to see everybody in person at Affiliate Con, and hopefully get some more one-on-one time with a lot of the coaches and affiliate owners that have some questions more specific to, their gyms and athletes as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So
and
great.
Christian just dropped all that in the chat. So make sure you guys check her out, and appreciate it. Can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much, Pamela.
Thank you for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. Now, if you're a coach who wants to coach more effectively, impact your members, and advance your career, then the Knowledge Pro is the next step. Inside, you'll get hundreds of coaching videos, weekly calls with level 4 coaches, and direct feedback on your coaching. From homework reviews to full class breakdowns, we do it all. This is the best way to grow as a coach and take your skills to the next level. Now you can join the Knowledge Pro at besthouroftheirday.com/the knowledge. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. Now keep coaching, keep improving, and we'll see you next time.